Another week and another sports interview. I'm Kevin Anzenberger. Emory and Henry scored big time this past fall, landing new head volleyball coach Devin Bays. With an impressive resume and playing experience at the Division III level, the pick for the athletic department was a no-brainer. As we enter ODAC play, I find it funny that our campus hasn't gotten the chance to meet her. So sitting beside me now is Coach Devin Bays. Coach, thanks for being on the set today.
No problem. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I know we're midway through the season almost, and I'd just like to backtrack a little bit. What brought you here to Emory and Henry College, and what did the hiring process entail?
Well, I definitely think that I was trying to get back to Virginia. I grew up in Virginia, and I've been in Arkansas for the last 2 years, so that was an experience for me that I loved, but it wasn't somewhere that I could call home. So that's kind of what I was looking for. Just wanted to get back out this way. I started looking into different job opportunities, and this came up. And it was something that my boss at the time really encouraged me to do. And so I went ahead with the application process, and things kind of started rolling from there. It was a wonderful experience, a wonderful process, and kind of like everybody says, you just fall at home here at Emory.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned being in Arkansas. I know being a student athlete is pretty hard. You were a student coach at Arkansas Monticello. What were the difficulties of that?
Well, being a grad assistant is pretty hard. It entailed a lot of time management. I was focusing on my master's degree there in physical education and coaching while also trying to be their full-time assistant. At a lot of programs that have grad assistantships, they also have full-time assistants, but this one did not. So it was kind of all on me to figure out how to balance my time and how to make sure that I gave enough to the program as well as giving enough to my studies.
Okay, absolutely. And you mentioned to me before this interview that you were at American University at the club level of play.
Yes.
I'd like to know, how does that compare with the Division III level of play?
I think the play compares a lot. The skill level is very close, but the dedication level and the commitment is obviously the big difference. At club level, you really only practice 3 or 4 times a week, if that. And a lot of times you have different kids at every practice.
We talked about the process at Arkansas Monticello, the process at American University. Those were all stepping stones to get to this job. Now you're finally a head coach. You made it.
Yes.
Is head coaching, is it what you thought it would be?
I think yes and no. There are definitely moments where I feel like I'm completely prepared for this and I'm ready to take on the next step, and then there are always things that kind of throw you for a loop. And I think that's in every job. So it's just important here, especially as a head coach, to always remember if there is something that comes up that I haven't anticipated or that I wasn't necessarily ready for, I just always think about how is this going to impact my team and what's going to happen next. Like, what if what I do here impacts my team? Is it a good impact? Is it negative? And how can I choose to go and do the things that will most positively impact my team moving forward?
Yeah, and I saw your resume. It was pretty impressive. So if head coaching doesn't work out for you, I'm sure you could get a job somewhere else.
The plan being here is to be able to do multiple things on campus. So that's why I like Emory and Henry so much. I can be a head coach, but who knows, maybe I can teach in the future or do some things that kind of connect me back to my American degree here.
Yeah, and talking about the future, you're at the Division III level now. You played at the Division III level. Do you see yourself coaching maybe at a higher level one day?
I don't know. I love Division III. I mean, I really enjoyed my time at Division II. Arkansas Monticello was a D2 school out there. And it was great, but I think that the balance of being a student athlete is kind of the best at Division III. You do get to focus on being a student first. I do get to encourage study hall hours, and I get to encourage my team to try to have the best female team GPA and that kind of thing. And so I really think that academics are important. And obviously, you talked about my resume. I enjoy going to school, which is something that a lot of people don't enjoy. So I think it is important to be at Division III, and it is kind of where I see myself fitting in the best.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that go into your coaching technique, whether it's your personality on the court, your personality off the court, how you intervene with certain players. Is there anybody that's inspired you to carry yourself the way you do?
I definitely think there are probably 3 people who've inspired me the most. One being my most previous boss and head coach at Arkansas Monticello, and his name's Peter Cruz. And I think that he kind of as athletes, and he tries to only look at them as athletes. A lot of times in female coaching and female sports, you try to think more about, well, how does a female react to this? And I think that I thought too much about that before I took that job. And so he's really encouraged me to think about athletes as athletes and to make sure that they know how to be athletes on the court and off the court when they're a member of a team, and that they don't let female drama or something like that get in the way on the court. I also think that Danny Miller, who's the head coach now at Averett University, he's been there for about 25 years, is someone that has inspired me the most with my coaching technique and with just the style that I keep with my players and being their mentor and their advocate and not being their friend. I'm not here to be their friend, and I told them that from day one. I'm here to help them in any way I can. I'm here to be their coach, and I'm here to be their mentor and help them with whatever they need help with, but I'm not here to be their best friend. And I think I got that from him initially. And finally, a club coach that I worked with a lot in Roanoke, his name's Tom Hauser, and he was just a wonderful person for me because he's the first person who instilled this idea, well, how will it affect my team? Like, he was very big on asking that question in every situation, and that's something that I've carried with me.
Okay, yeah, those are all great points. Now something that I'm really curious about, I had to go through the process of getting a new coach as a player. How did you determine who was good on your team? Did you go back and look at previous stats? Did you watch previous game film? Or did you give everybody a clean slate the first day of practice? It doesn't take much to know Tristan Pennington is pretty good on the court.
That's true. And being the ODAC freshman of the year last year, you can't ignore that stat. I did look at stats a little bit, but I did not look at any game film. And I told him that that was a very conscious decision on my part because I didn't want to be content with just being a little bit better than they were last year. And I feel like that if you watch game film, you get to this point where you're like, oh, good, we're better. But that's not my goal here. My goal here is not just to be better, it's to be at the best that we can be, and it's to explore our full potential as a team. And I didn't want to kind of cloud my judgment with only seeing where they were last year. I tried to really give everyone a new slate this year on playing time. I mean, obviously there are people who stand out, and that's going to be obvious when you come into practice no matter what you see in stats. But I did work really hard to make sure that everyone knew that they had a fair shot to play this year. And that if they gave their all and if they really worked hard, then they would see playing time. And that might be more or less than they saw last year. I think a good example of that would be that Natasha Moore is someone who stepped up for us in a time of injury at the moment with another player. And she worked really hard, and maybe you might not have seen her name on the stats as much last year as she is on this year. And so I think that she's kind of a testament to the fact that there was a clean slate and that she kind of has been able to show herself differently this year than maybe she did last year on stats or film.
Yeah, definitely. And I would definitely want Coach Wilson to take the same approach because I didn't see much playing time in my early years. But I really appreciate you being on the set. And now we've met Coach Devin Bays. It's been a while. She's been here for a while. We have games this weekend and another home game next Tuesday. Join us. And that is it for this sports interview. I will now set it over to Nathan Fischel and the sports update.